Hi, how you doing? It's Russell James and you're watching The Raw Chef TV. In this episode, I'm going to answer probably one of the most common questions I get in classes and online, and that is, can I use an oven instead of a dehydrator? And the answer is yes, but with a couple of things to watch out for. So a dehydrator just really works on heat and mostly on air. So it's a small heater element, but a reasonably big fan. So if you've got a fan-assisted oven, you can definitely do this. So this might be for you if maybe you're not sure if you want to invest in a dehydrator right now, or maybe you're in a place where you haven't got access to your normal dehydrator. So I'm going to show you how to make kale chips, and they will end up being not as raw as they would be in your dehydrator, but I'll give you some guidelines on timings, what to look out for, and how to pull this off in an oven. So to start off with, I've got this beautiful organic kale here, and I've de-stemmed this into reasonable sized chunks, so it's nice and crunchy. So I just pull it off the stems. It's been washed, and I keep the stems for juicing later on, and that's what gives us this beautiful big bowl of kale. So to that, we're going to add a sauce, just as you would in a dehydrated kale chip recipe. So I'm going to do a really beautiful cashew and za'atar dressing or sauce. So I'm going to put my cashews in. I've got a bit of a mix of garlic and onion powder here. So with the za'atar seasoning, mix in garlic, lemon juice works really well, and some tahini. So I've gone quite heavy on the lemon juice. I'm not going to put all of that in, but a good amount of lemon juice picks up these flavors in the za'atar seasoning. I'm going to go quite heavy with that as well. You can just follow the recipe. If you're watching this on the podcast, just head over to my blog. I've got the recipe under the video there for you. And if you're watching on the blog, then it's just underneath. There's also a link, if you're watching this on YouTube, there's a link under the video for you to find the recipe as well. So that was nutritional yeast I just put in there, and now I'm putting in some tahini. And I'm going to add to the lemon juice with a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Just gives it a nice little flavour lift by having the two different acids in there. Put your preferred amount of salt in there. And then to help it all blend, a bit of water. And if you haven't got a Vitamix as well, like if you haven't got a dehydrator, you might not have a Vitamix, you might not be into it that much yet. So another question I get is, do I have to have a Vitamix? And you don't. You can use a less powerful blender. Just go for whatever your resources will allow. Just go for the most powerful thing that you can afford. And if you have to have not a Vitamix that's not quite as powerful, just put in a little bit of extra water. In this recipe, you can get away with it because we're going to be dehydrating these anyway, or putting them in the oven to mimic that dehydration. So it will evaporate off that extra water, so it's all good. Okay, so turning my Vitamix back down to the lowest setting so that next time I come back to it, it doesn't jump up everywhere. That's definitely something to remember if you haven't got Vitamix yet when you get one. So I've got this beautiful cashew, za'atar, lemony, garlicky, onion seasoning here, or sauce. That's just going to go straight into the kale chips. And I'm just using a rubber spatula to get in between those blades. And then all you need to do is just get in there with your hands and just massage it. And you'll find it wilts down a little bit, and we're getting all of the kale coated in this beautiful sauce. All right, so now this is the part where you normally spread them onto a dehydrated tray. So what we're going to do instead is just use a normal oven baking tray instead of our dehydrator, and But what I have got on here is I've got one of the non-stick sheets from a dehydrator. You could use foil if you wanted to as well, but don't use baking parchment. If you use baking parchment, the kale chips will stick to it and you'll have a nightmare trying to peel them off. So I've got my dehydrator tray. You can get these for a couple of pounds, couple of dollars online without having to buy the dehydrator itself. And then just spread these pieces of kale out. Okay, so I've got those nicely spread out. I don't want to stack them up too high on top of each other, but I'll just make best use of all the space I've got there. I guess one of the advantages of having a dehydrator is that you can do multiple trays. And if you've got more than one oven tray, then of course you can do maybe up to 2 or 3 trays in the oven at the same time. Okay, so this is going to go in the oven now on its lowest setting. So this now it really depends on what oven you've got. I've got a Bosch oven here, and it's a reasonably good oven. You can turn it down very low, and it's got 2 fans. It's got a special kind of fan system. So a lot of ovens nowadays, actually, you can buy them with a dehydrator setting, so they will double up as a dehydrator. So if you're getting a new oven, that's a great way to go. So I'll put these on. Generally, your oven temperature or your oven timings is going to be about half to a third of the time. So like in a dehydrator, I'd leave these for 12, 14 hours, and they'll probably be done in about 3 or 4 hours in the oven, even on the lower setting. But again, it just comes down to your oven. So I'll put these in and I'll show you what they look like when they come out. So the kale chips have been in the oven for just over 4 hours now, so let's take a look and see how they're going. Okay, so this may or may not be warm enough that you need oven gloves, but it's just a precaution really. So these are looking perfect. They're perfectly crisp because we use that dehydrated tray. They just come right off of there, very, very much like a dehydrated kale chip would. They're fantastic, so they're ready to go in a sealed container. So if you're going to try this, get to know your oven. Turn it on to its lowest temperature with the door closed, as long as it's a fan-assisted oven. Keep coming back and check it every 30 minutes to an hour. Certainly as you get towards 3 or 4 hours, check it every 30 minutes. Make sure it's not burning. At low temperatures, the worst it's going to do is cook these, but then you'll start to calibrate it a little bit and find out where you get to with your specific oven, the temperature it goes to, and how good the fan is. Okay, so give it a go, and I'll see you in the next episode.